Hello, and welcome to this presentation, which focuses on one of the questions posed in the public consultation. I will briefly present about the trade-off between flexibility and comparability, and why this is relevant for science-based target setting for oil, gas, and integrated energy companies. Methodologies rely on a comparison between a company indicator to set and measure progress of targets and a scenario variable that reflects the necessary pace of change of that indicator in order to meet the Paris Agreement goals. For example, in this graphic, we show the same indicator, the well-to-wheel carbon intensity of energy, but considering two different types of energy, primary versus final energy in the denominator. In all cases, the indicator calculated by a company should align as perfectly as possible with the indicators derived from the scenario. This is really important. But although this is critical for the robustness of the methodology, the issue we are concerned here is that, as we see in this graphic for these two curves, there are many ways of building an indicator. For example, tons of CO2 per terajoule or carbon per energy that can be built based on energy considering final energy or primary energy. And how you build it can cause significant variation in the final carbon intensities. One needs to be very clear what are the numbers referring to, and these are just some of the choices we have to do. Primary versus secondary versus final energy, how to account for electricity, considering net or gross emissions, allocating or not removals in other sectors, how to account for indirect carbon capture and storage, which emissions factors to consider, etc. There are several detailed technical decisions that need to be made, and there are also some constraints, both from the point of view of data availability and what can logically be justified. Thus, company targets will only be truly comparable if companies follow one single, rather prescriptive methodology which addresses many of these issues in a normative way, for example through a standard. When we started this project, we had foreseen the possibility not of one but of several different methodologies. That is still the case. But even in one methodological approach, for instance, the well-to-wheel, many variations are possible. Thus, the issue we are talking about is one of flexibility versus comparability. The more flexibility we give to companies on what to choose, the less comparable the targets will be. It might still be possible for the Science Based Targets initiative to validate the targets, but in the end, two targets that look the same might result in significantly different outcomes. The question we ask the public is, how relevant is to compare targets like for like versus giving companies the flexibility to choose the most convenient way to compute their indicator and targets, but still validating the target's alignment with a well below 2 degree or 1.5 scenario through the Science Based Targets initiative approval process, but losing the comparability between companies. Which of these options is preferable for you and why? We also have similar recordings for the other consultation questions. Please check them out. Thank you for your attention and for your interest in this public consultation.